Charlie Long, Chief Executive at Critical Mineral Resources. Charlie, thanks for coming on today. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Good.
So the news we've been waiting for this week, with CMR delivering the first assays from its maiden drilling at Agadir Melloul. I wanted to focus first on those near-surface copper intercepts, which you say has confirmed a significant discovery. I understand you were already confident this was there, but you mentioned the results have exceeded your expectations anyway. So can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So I think just the thickness, really. So we knew there were some trenches that had been dug, and so we knew it was there. I think some of the silver levels were a bit lower than we thought, but we also know it's quite nuggety. So it depends where you put your hole, whether you hit, an area of chalcocite which is normally associated with the silver or not. So we think more drilling will increase the silver grades, and there's just different zones where there's chalcocite silver or just chalcopyrite no silver. So more drilling will sort of give us a better overall understanding of those silver levels. But certainly the thickness was unexpected, because the trenches, I guess you're trenching with an excavator, and it's not an easy thing to do. So we often didn't dig deep enough to see how deep the actual sedimentary layer was. And when we drilled and assayed, we had, some nice areas of say 4 meters of thickness, where our target is 2 meters. So I think our target, or I know our target, has always been 2 meters at 1.2% copper equivalent. I think now that it looks like that thickness could be better, or could be wider. But at the end of the day, it depends on the area. So when it's very, very shallow, we might take even thicker than 4. We might take 5 or 6 meters at a lower grade, because it all goes, it's all above the cutoff grade. And then if it's a little bit deeper and there's a bit of a strip ratio, then we might take a thinner but higher grade bit. It just depends on the the trade-off, the cost trade-offs. But basically, it's what we expected, and a little bit thicker in areas than we thought, and very good. And then the other thing is, we've only drilled a tiny part of the property, and we've got exclusivity on a couple of more permits in the area as well. And we know from visiting them, trenching them, sampling them, knowing the geology of the region, that there's other. But basically, the mineralisation is throughout the whole district, and we've basically got the district under our control. And wherever that mineralisation is exposed, and I think I've said this before on StockBox, so apologies, but if it's a road cutting, or if it's an old river valley, or if it's just an escarpment or a cliff, and you can see the contact between the old basement rocks and the lowest level of Cambrian sediments, or infracambrian sediments, you have mineralisation there. And in some areas it's good, in some areas it's very low grade. Occasionally it disappears, but it always comes back. And you can walk for or drive 10 kilometres and 5 kilometres and all around, and the mineralisation is always there.
Brilliant, yeah.
So the more we drill, the more resources and the more intersects we'll hit, and that resource will build over time.
Great. So more drilling is the headline there, but
more drilling is required. Yeah.
In the first,
and we will have another drill rig there soon. So, and that is very imminent. But there is a process of it's coming to the country, and then getting through the port, and then getting to site, and then checking everything that's arrived, making sure it's all good, and then commissioning it. And we've got a driller who's obviously, we've got a contract driller that's operating now, but we've got our own driller who's been employed. He's incredibly experienced. He's worked on mining, on drilling for water. He's worked for some big well-known industrial projects in Morocco, and he's agreed to join us, and he's going to be sort of owning that rig. And so we're planning, that's all going to be in the news soon. So we'll be able to increase our drilling rate.
Great. So in the first instance, the intersections that you reported this week, they relate to the initial Zone 1 mine. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're the sort of Zone 1 north. So just a little sort of finger of, or triangle of sedimentary rocks at the top of Zone 1. Zone 1 goes down to the south at least 5 kilometres. So we've just drilled the sort of top bit, about a kilometre. And then, so it's just a very small area. And the reason that's the first area that we drilled is it's the easiest area to get to. It's the first area that was trenched. And it's just sort of makes sense to start where the project started. But then we moved the rig to Zone 2 to test the rhyolite. So it's a big rhyolite intrusion, but it's not all mineralized. It looks like there's 2 different phases of rhyolite. And so we moved the rig over there, sort of the middle of Zone 2, and we drilled a few holes there. Or we have now drilled a few holes there, but we only got one of the first hole we got in time for the drill results. Early this week. That was, that was the kind of the plan. We wanted to show we've got sedimentary mineralization. We've also, it looks like we've definitely got mineralization, igneous rocks. We just don't know at this point whether it's secondary mineralization or primary or something in between.
Sure. So I want to return to that rhyolite opportunity
in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, not at all. But with the initial Zone 1 opportunity, so the target is to deliver that maiden resource estimate next year.
Yeah.
So is that just a case of doing more drilling and building on the results to deliver that in time?
Yeah. So it's to drill. We'll carry on drilling Zone 1 North. We'll then continue to move south on Zone 1, and then we'll take the rig over to Zone 2 South, and which actually a little further south from where the rhyolite is, and drill there. And between Zone 1 North and Zone 2 South, we'll have the resource sufficient to do the initial mine. And I think, so on that, there's a little bit of confusion because our target is 1,000 tonne a day for the initial mine. Our JV contract with our joint venture partner is for a minimum of 650 tonnes a day. I think what we'll do is probably have 2 500 tonne a day mills. Start with 500, but all being well, expand to 1,000. But I think you could probably put more. But having two mills is great because if one breaks down, you can keep on operating, and you can probably put more than 500 in to the mill, probably depending on what sort of crushing facilities you have ahead of it. But I just wanted to clarify that we want to do 1,000 tonne a day, but our agreement says 650. So that's drill a resource, Zone 1 North, Zone 2 South, sufficient to underpin that development. And I suppose that could be, it's not going to be a massive resource. It's just going to be enough for that initial mine for, say, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years. But it will not, this is a really important message, it does not reflect, that maiden resource does not reflect in any way the potential scale of the project, of its global resource, of the ultimate resource. It will just reflect how many drill meters we did, and what percentage of those holes were successful, because not every hole, there's zones of mineralization, pretty much like any ore body. And so not every hole is going to be a successful sort of resource grade, ore grade, whatever you want to call it, hole. But yeah, just because we'll put out a resource for the initial mine does not reflect, has no real reflection on the ultimate scale of the project. And that's why we've tried to name it the initial mine project, and the strategic resource strategy. And it's the strategic resource strategy which is to drill, the whole district and prove something up that's, much, much more significant.
Yeah, and speaking to that wider potential, the Rhyolite discovery, is that that's a totally new opportunity, isn't it? You weren't expecting that.
Yeah, we weren't expecting that. I mean, we knew there was mineralized rhyolite, but you kind of get, I've been to Agadir Melloul many times, and I've seen the mineralized rhyolite, but it's sort of, I guess, it just gets lost in, and we just gets lost in all the different opportunities that you see. But I suppose in the last 6 months, we were like, hang on a sec, this could be very interesting. And I visited some other mineralized rhyolite mines in Morocco, which were a bit lower grade, but shows that there are rhyolites that are mineralized. Not close, but not too far away, geologically speaking. And so it's just an interesting thing, because Morocco has not been drilled, and of course there has been drilling, but it hasn't been well drilled. If you compare it with many other sort of copper areas, Botswana is quite a good example of. I'm not saying that Morocco will have the same amount of copper that Botswana has, but there's been a lot of drilling in Botswana, and they've found lots of copper, and Morocco just really, there's just a few companies that have drilled it, and so there's a very good chance that there is a load of mineralized rhyolite in Morocco, and they know it, but they just haven't drilled it. Yeah. It's just one of those things, and that's the opportunity that Morocco presents. It's they have their way of developing mines, which typically involves drilling out enough for a few years and then replacing the reserves every year. And so a mine might last for a couple of decades, but they've only ever got 1 million tons of resources in reserves. And if you have that approach, which is very different from the Western approach, which is to drill out as much resources as you can because you're trying to show how fantastic your project is. There are two ends of the spectrum, and I suppose we're kind of in between. We respect and understand the benefits for shareholders of developing small and kind of bootstrapping things, but we also see that to really get the extra equity returns, you need to show how big your project is. And I think traditionally in Morocco, it's more about just a business, just an industry. Let's drill out some resources, build a mine, make some money. They haven't drilled out those big resources that may well exist. And yeah, so we're trying to do that.
Yeah, like you say, you got that opportunity, and you currently drilled less than 1% of the overall sedimentary target. So it sounds like drilling is going to be pretty consistent moving forward, even as you advance that, more technical work on bringing Zone 1 in the first instance into development.
Yeah, the drilling, the drilling is going to be. I mean, to target the good areas. We're going to be trenching, and where the trenches are better, we'll focus the drilling in those areas and kind of step out from those areas. But because we've got lots of outcrop, Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, and Zone 4, we can target that drilling based on the best parts of the outcrop. So it's a continuous system or semi-continuous system, but still within an outcrop, which might be like a few kilometers or 10 kilometers or whatever it is. I think we've got 12 kilometers of outcrop now. And then with Zone 4, we've probably got another 4 or 5 kilometers. And just by sampling and trenching those kilometers of outcrop, you find the good areas, and then you drill around those good areas. But then once you've done that, which may be several years down the line, then we might need to use some slightly more sophisticated techniques, which will probably start now or soon, geophysics and potentially geochemistry and hyperspectral imagery and what have you. I'm not an expert, to find less obvious targets within the project area. And the rhyolite is, I don't want to get too excited about it, because mining exploration has a habit of disappointing, especially with the share price. But certainly we're excited. And if you look at I think in our announcement, there's one cross section of a hole in the sediments, and it's sort of it's like a meter at 0.5%, and then a meter at 1.3%, and then a meter at 0.8, and then a meter at 0.4, and then maybe a meter at 1 or something. It's kind of, and that's chalcopyrite, and there's no silver in that hole.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it looks like, and that's in limestones. And then when you drill the rhyolite, it's first meter 1.5%, 30 grams silver. Second meter 1.5%, 30 grams silver. And then it's 1.3, 20 grams silver. 0.8, 15 grams, and then 1.5, 30 grams. It's very consistent. It looks different. And there's lots of circumstantial evidence to suggest that it is a different thing to the limestone. It's like the mineralization. Firstly, it looks different. It's a different rock type. There is unmineralized rhyolite and mineralized rhyolite. So if it was, and the rhyolite is older than the limestone. So if it was a secondary process which came in along the contacts, went into the limestones and went down into the rhyolite, why didn't it go into the other rhyolites? Why is it just in this one phase of this one pulse of rhyolite? And that's the consistency of it. There's other things I've sort of forgotten, but there's circumstantial evidence to suggest it's sort of primary, or it's always been very good at soaking up the mineralization and scavenging the mineralization as it's kind of been placed. But we don't know. We're obviously excited about it, but we need to drill it, I think we said thin section analysis to really understand its age and its how the mineralization came in and in what order. So it's early days, but it's certainly exciting. And as I said in the announcement, worst case scenario, it's a really nice extra target which is mineralized and it's got good silver in it and it's nice and chunky.
Absolutely, yeah. It's obviously an encouraging early signs there. So just finally, can we walk through what investors can expect to see over the rest of the year and into the new year perhaps? Is it a combination of more drill results along with some more stuff on the resource definition and the technical work?
Yeah, so drilling, assay results, and technical work, just as you say. I mean, we want to do a bit more metallurgy, but we have metallurgy already done. But as you see, if you looked on LinkedIn, there's lots of stuff on LinkedIn about mining companies that don't do enough metallurgy because the rock types change, the hardness of the rocks, how they can be ground, and how you blend them, and so there's extra work to be done there. But it's not like there's a risk. There's no refractory risk. It's the same mineralization that you get in lots of different places in the anti-atlas: chalcopyrite, chalcocite, some malachite, silver with the chalcocite. So I don't see it as a risk, but that's work that we need to do. We need to do water studies. That will probably start next year once we've got the resource out. We'll probably have the mining license announced sometime soon, but then we need to do the EIA and get the permitting for the processing plant once we've done the resource. But it's generally just stuff towards developing the project towards production, and drilling, and trying to prove to the market that there's a big project here. So trying to get some social media, more imagery out there, videos showing the rocks, going to different parts of the property and showing some of the thick areas of mineralization, and just trying to ram that home so people start believing it.
Definitely. I'm sure we can help on that front as well.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, thank you again, Charlie, for coming on. I'm sure we'll be speaking again soon with so much on the way.
Yeah, for sure. Look forward to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like, or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.